Hylians, and welcome to a kind of follow-up video to a video I made last year, where I talked about my theory on who the hero shown in the story of Calamity Ganon from 10,000 years ago may be. With the teaser trailer out for Breath of the Wild sequel, I wanted to take the tiny bits of information that we got from that trailer and do a kind of update video on this theory. So, let's begin! In Breath of the Wild, we are told by Impa the story of Calamity Ganon. In the cutscene, we are shown an old tapestry, which you can also see behind Impa when talking to her. This tapestry shows the story. We see Calamity Ganon, the princess, and the warrior, but this warrior is clearly not Link. I talked about how before this figure looked far more like Ganondorf, with the long red hair, green skin, and all-around body shape. Nothing on this depiction of Hyrule's hero looked like Link. And when we talk about heroes and warriors within the Legend of Zelda series, he is most likely the very first thing you think of. So why? Why would Ganondorf be this time's hero, and how? Well, I believe that Ganondorf is always born as a normal Gerudo male, living his life ruling over his people, learning to fight and use magic. But at some point the power of demise, the curse he placed years ago, awakens within him. This curse is already part of Ganondorf, as we have seen in past incarnations of him. Now, why do we think Ganondorf is not simply born evil? I have come to believe after playing all the games that Ganondorf and Ganon are different entities. Ganondorf the human, and Ganon the physical representation of Demise's power. Whenever we see Ganon, it's in either the Downfall timeline, a time where he is given in completely to the power of the Triforce and Demise's power, or in other timelines we see him take the form of Ganon as a last-ditch effort or the points of extreme anger and power, like in Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time. Simply, I think that Ganon is the true part of Demise's curse, resting within Ganondorf, and that full curse and power is not completely shown until he takes the form of Ganon. So what if Ganondorf was born some 10,000 years ago before the events of Breath of the Wild that we see happen in game? He was born to be the king of the Gerudo again, but this time succeeded in connecting his people with the people of Hyrule and helping his own people live better lives, both within the desert and within Hyrule. We learn that this is what he wished for his people when he tells us within Wind Waker. The Gerudo would then be free to travel to both lands with no fear, and it would be far more easy to live with access to Hyrule's supplies, without the need to steal and kill people for them. With this connection between the two lands, trust would gradually grow. The people of the Gerudo are strong warriors and would have been great assets to fight alongside Hyrule. So when the threat of Calamity Ganon appeared within Hyrule, the princess and the king enlisted the help of the Gerudo people to fight alongside them, and maybe one of them to pilot the divine beast. But perhaps even with their newfound trust, the king was wary of his new allies, especially their king. We have heard how this king in particular seemed to be very wary of some of his allies. As in game we hear how after defeating Calamity Ganon, he ordered the Sheikah to stop using their technology and hide it away, in fear that they would use it to rise up against them. This is also when some of the Sheikah split off and became the Yiga, not wanting to stop using their powerful technology that they had made. As the Gerudo people worked alongside the Hylians to ready for Calamity Ganon, the princess and the king of the Gerudo came to know each other, and the princess felt something powerful within the king. She persuaded him to come with her to where the Master Sword was sleeping, and expressed how she believed to him that he was the hero who would take the sword, and to the king's surprise, he was able to. Hyrule had its hero, an unlikely one, but one chosen by the sword. As the time came to fight Calamity Ganon, the princess and the king of the Gerudo fought the beast together, the wisdom of the goddess Hylia, and the courage and power of the hero. As we know, the princess and hero, along with an army of guardians and divine beasts, were able to stop Calamity Ganon. But even so, the king of Hyrule was worried about the Gerudo king. He knew the old tales of his kingdom. He knew the stories and legends left behind long ago of a man named Ganondorf. And he became worried that even though this new king had helped to save his kingdom, that maybe it was all a plan, and maybe he was the one to even bring about Calamity Ganon. The king of Hyrule did not want to take a chance, and so he, along with the Sheikah, took Ganondorf down below Hyrule, to the old forgotten ruins and dungeons, and sealed the Gerudo King away. And before leaving, they left drawings on the walls leading to the Gerudo King's resting place, telling of the things he had done or had been believed to have done. The King of Hyrule, to stop anyone from questioning his choice to seal away someone who had helped to save the kingdom, told them that Ganondorf was a traitor, and that he was the one to bring about Calamity Ganon. The people of Hyrule soon turned against the Gerudo King, but not just the people of Hyrule, but his own people. They did not wish to again be made to suffer in the desert, so they continued to help the Hylian people where they could, to keep strong ties with them and live comfortable lives with the trust of the Hylians. Over time, the hero of this time faded into legend, only being remembered through the tapestry we see within Breath of the Wild, but he was still there, waiting under Hyrule. Sealed away with ancient magic, the king could not die. He was in a state worse than death. Over the years of being trapped alone under Hyrule, his hatred would grow towards the people who sealed him away. The power of his hatred would grow till it simply became malice. The King of Hyrule did not know it back then, but by sealing away the Gerudo King, he had created what he wished to prevent. A new king of evil, a new host to demise his power had been born of fear. If this were to be true, it would mean that within Breath of the Wild there were two Ganons. Calamity Ganon, a Ganon from even before 10,000 years ago, who gave in so much to his hatred and power that he became pure malice. A powerful monster made only of hatred who wanted to destroy the kingdom of Hyrule. And Ganondorf, trapped down below Hyrule in a death-like state by ancient magic. The new king of the Gerudo, and chosen hero of Hyrule, who fought to help the people of the kingdom, to finally bring both his people and the people of Hyrule together, but in the end was ultimately betrayed by Hyrule's leader, leading him to be sealed away and ultimately becoming what they wanted to prevent. A couple extra things of note. When speaking to King Rome at the beginning of the game, he says this:
"To know Calamity Ganon's true form, one must know the story from an age long past. The Demon King was born into this kingdom, but his transformation into malice created the horror you see now."
Calamity Ganon was definitely born as Ganondorf, and at some point in time became Calamity Ganon. The King of Hyrule from 10,000 years ago most likely knew of this, and maybe this is why he sealed the new Ganondorf away, fearing the possibility of two monsters wreaking havoc on Hyrule. And one more thing comes from Maz Koshir, the Sheikah monk who you fight at the end of the Champion's Ballad DLC. He says this: "You have erased all doubt from my mind. You are the true hero." Maybe he says this because he already knew that someone with the spirit of the hero had already been in Hyrule somewhere. Defeating him proves to him that you also have that spirit. I would also like to point out that within Breath of the Wild, Link never once is seen with the Triforce on his hand, as Zelda holds the full Triforce within this game, and so it is his spirit and his power that proves that he is the chosen hero. This is simply a theory, but a theory that I feel, if somewhat true, would add to the darker themes this game seems to be going with. We have always been told about Hyrule having a secretive dark past, and that its royal family may not be as good as they seem. But bringing something like this into the game, even if just for backstory, would add greatly to the character of both Ganondorf and the Hylian royal family. So thank you guys for watching my video on this topic. As I said at the start, this is somewhat of a follow-up to a video I made last year when I talked about the possibility of the figure in the old tapestry shown in Breath of the Wild being Ganondorf. I have to admit that the idea of Ganondorf helping the Hylians but ultimately being betrayed by them has always been something I'd be interested in seeing in a game, and maybe with this new game we might get something like that. So please tell me your thoughts on this theory below, and I'd love to hear any ideas that you may have about this next game. I have a couple more theories on this topic that I'll possibly make into videos soon. So if you're interested in more stuff like this, please subscribe as it would greatly help me out. And if you enjoyed this video while you're at it, why not give it a like? Thank you again for watching this, and until the next time, bye!